Beginning out the offensive line for Alabama, and this is a group starting in spring that it's got to improve. It's got to improve. You go back to 2020, that group with Landon Dickerson, Alex Leatherwood, Evan Neal, Deontay Brown, all that group was special. Mac Jones was sacked 13 times that season. Probably the least sacked quarterback in college football. This group right here, Bryce Young was sacked 40 times. And that's just the sacks. He was probably hit twice more than that. So this group has to get better. This group has to improve. And first and foremost, it starts with the O-line coach, Doug Marrone. Is he back in the spring? Because as you notice, Bill O'Brien has been interviewing for different NFL head coaching jobs. Now, he has not been hired for one. He's not accepted a job yet, so still employed as Alabama's offensive coordinator. But in the event, I'm just saying, in the event Bill O'Brien was to take one of these NFL head coaching jobs, he and Doug Marrone have always been kind of a packaged deal. So if O'Brien was to leave the Crimson Tide, I think he would reach back and take Marrone with him, possibly, probably, more than likely. We'll see. But that'll be the big first question. Would Marrone be back as the offensive line coach for the spring here where the Crimson Tide is concerned? If he is, then you look at first and foremost on the offensive line, I think Seth McLaughlin is the one really safe guy. Because, like I mentioned, he came off the bench in the Iron Bowl and in the second half, and he really structured, he really galvanized, he really stabled this offensive unit. If you remember that final drive there where he got in there and, of course, protected Bryce Young, helped the team get up and down the field for the game-tying touchdown to Ja'Cory Brooks, the tie of the game at 10. And set up the 4 overtimes. Alabama won the game 24-22. The SEC championship game, McLaughlin handled 6'6" Jordan Davis, made him non-existent, made him non-effect, made him a non-factor. Where in terms of getting to Bryce Young, McLaughlin played extremely well. Then in the Cotton Bowl, McLaughlin opened up those holes, those running lanes for Brian Robinson to have a 200-yard day, 204 yards rushing. So McLaughlin's fine. McLaughlin's the one guy that is hook, line, center, in my opinion, at that center spot. You do not move him. You keep him right where he is. When you look at the offensive guards, I think this is a spot that needs to be improved here. This is a spot where it's got to be some open competition. Now, I like Javion Cohen at left guard. I like Cohen. There's some things that Cohen can do to improve himself, to clean some things up, to get himself better. But I like the potential. I like the power. I like the moxie. I like the tools that he brings. Just some things for him to clean up. Now, at right guard, where Emil Ekiyor is concerned, that is where I think some competition needs to be opened up. Because as talented as Ekiyor is, and he's got experience, there's just some moments where he was just getting teed off out there, like he was getting his clock cleaned out there at times, and guys was just, taking him off the ball, taking him off the snap, so to speak. And when you look at guys like a Terrence Ferguson, who came in the 2021 class as a natural guard, you look at somebody like a Jayden Roberts, who came in the 2021 class as a natural guard. You look at somebody like a Dane Shore or a Tyler Booker. Both of those two guys came in this 2022 class. You've got some natural guards. So you've got some natural players that can play in that phone booth. So I would like to see a little competition here at that right guard spot in terms of Emil Ekiyor on the offensive line. But the big thing here, folks, Crimson Tide will be replacing both tackles, right tackle and left tackle. Here is what everybody wants to see. The 2 5-stars that came in that massive haul of offensive linemen for 2021, on paper the greatest class Coach Saban's ever brought into Tuscaloosa. J.C. Latham, a 5-star. Tommy Brockermeyer, a 5-star. It's time to live up to all of his hype. Both of those two at both tackle spots. It's time for these two to live up to all of this hype. Both guys have the size. Latham at 6'6", Brockermeyer at 6'7". It's time to see what can these two young men do. Because if these two hit at both of these tackle spots, you take that number of 40 sacks that Bryce Young had this past season, you dwindle that down tremendously. You dwindle that down because I want to see how quickly can this offensive line gel? How quickly can these guys have a rhythm? How quickly can these guys have a connection? How quickly can these guys have a chemistry? How quickly can these guys bond together? Because when I go back to that 2020 line for a moment, Dickerson, Leatherwood, Deontay Brown, they played a lot of football together. Evan Nealon there also played a lot of football together. So, those guys clicked instantly to start the 2020 season because of the amount of time they played together, the amount of time they spent together, the amount of time they bonded together. That's what made that particular unit a legit group that won the Joe Moore Award. So when I look at this offensive line starting this spring, how quickly can they gel? How quickly can they bond? How quickly can the chemistry and the continuity and all of these types of things that make a unit of 5 work together as one, how quickly can this get put together? But I do want to see here at both of these tackle spots, J.C. Latham, Tommy Brockermeyer, the time is now.